the return of Paul Faria. Thank you, man, for coming on to the show again. The first podcast was honestly, I loved it. It was I felt like I said at the end of it, I felt like I grew from it. It wasn't an ordinary conversation at the coffee shop. And that's what I like about you, man. That's why I brought you on again. So we can go there, we can get deep, and we can, figure out what it's like on the other side of our thoughts.
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny you say that. My ego is very honored to be back on for a second stint, especially so quickly. So I'm like, look, man, he's got some pretty cool people coming on here. So it was like, all right, let's go. Let's add value. Let's keep going deeper, and let's see where this takes us. Pumped up.
Yeah, because you know what it was is like at the end, I felt like there was so much more that we could have talked about, but I think I did at least exerted my energy. I think we ended it on like, dude, like your thoughts don't make any, you were not our thoughts, and we can't describe it. There's no words to describe it. So we were just like, well, what more can we say if our words don't describe the truth, then what more can we say? And then we just kind of ended it there. But
right.
I think there are certain truths all right. So like there is the ultimate truth, there's the ultimate truth, which is unspeakable, unknowable by the mind, by the rational mind, but it's there, and it's more of a feeling that you just reach, and you just know. There's just like this unspeakable knowing when you reach that truth, and once you open that door, that you don't close it again. Like, I mean, once you open the door, you can open it again. You know where the door is, but I think the door does close, but you always know that the door is there to the ultimate truth, right? Of the unspeakable truth. But I think below that, there are also truths that you can speak about. There are things that we can talk about that bring you closer to opening that door. And I think that's what we can kind of explore in podcasts. That's why we talk, that's why we have these philosophical conversations, to bring us closer, because it's not easy to get to that ultimate truth. Like okay, so how would you describe the ultimate truth? Like, what is the ultimate truth of life?
I'm so pumped up you brought that up. Well, because I wanted, like, there was something, I was doing the dishes this morning, and there's something I wanted to bring up to you. And by the way, I had that thought too. I was like, dude, there is so much for us to explore and talk about, and my mind just started exploding. But when I thought about coming on here and us doing this again, what I immediately started to think about was, so I may have mentioned it last time. So right after college, I went immediately into sales.
Yep.
And just got inundated with the Brian Tracy's, Jim Rohn's, Tony Robbins of the world, and then even people within the organization making all this money. We probably did this last time, but what I started to value by proxy was, hey, I am not going to talk to you and listen to you and take your advice or entertain a conversation if you're not making $500,000 a year or more. Mm-hmm. Like, that's the litmus test. Like, anything you have to say, any philosophy you have about life, all this stuff, it literally doesn't matter unless you're making $500,000 a year or more, because I only want to be like those people and have what those people have, and that's it, right?
Yep.
So the hardest thing in the world right now for me to accept, and I am still working through this, is that when I sit down and meditate and I feel these things come up, and we've talked, hopefully we'll go deeper into this, but when these things come up and these truths that you are alluding to, that you can actually viscerally feel in your body come up, mm-hmm. There is, in that moment, that's so hard to explain with words. That's like, wow, like this is it. And then the mind comes in and says, who are you to speak to this? What have you done in your life? What have you achieved? What have you done that makes you so sure that what you think and feel is as profound as you think? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, you're saying the mind comes in and says, who are you to speak about this? This mind state?
Thank you.
It's like the ego is always like, no matter what, is always trying to, because I have that too. Because it's just like, I can look at other people that are speaking about the same things I am. I'm like, oh, I don't have what they have, or I'm not doing what they're doing. But at the end of the day, we're still speaking about the same the same topics and with the same ideas and the same messages and the same themes. So it's just like, that's just another obstacle you have to get by, because at the end of the day, like I said, man, I feel like I say at the end of the day a lot. At the end of the day, like, as long as you know it's true in your heart, and you speak that truth and you're authentic with it, my opinion, if one person hears it and it speaks to them, then I accomplish my goal. None of that matters really, man. Like, all of the glamour and the Instagram followers, like, all of that doesn't matter, because the truth, the real truth, the message I get from the real truth. It sounds corny to say, the truth, man. But the message that I get from the truth is that it's like, speak this into existence. Like, just you have to, like, don't be pushy about it, but like, speak. It's just good vibrations and good vibes and good energy, because essentially it's, okay, so I'll try to describe it. Essentially, the truth is just ultimate, and it's ultimate happiness. It's infinite happiness. It's being okay with who you are. And we live in a world where not everybody's okay with who they are. Actually, the majority of people aren't okay with who they are. And that's the problem, is because people don't know who they are, what they're here for, and what the hell is going on. When you come to that that samadhi state, that state of just like, just being, that is the truth. That's happiness. And I get discouraged too, because I'm like, oh man, I can't talk about this. No one's gonna understand. They're gonna think I'm weird. But I know deep down there's something that tells me I need to go to these depths and speak this for myself, for my own therapy, to just talk. Like, this feels good to just talk about things, and for other people potentially, it's
Yeah.
it's something, it's like something in my heart to like speak about these things, because I want people ultimately deep down to be happy. And it's tough, man. It's tough.
Yeah, to build on that too, what's interesting is, now that we're connecting like this on this level, what immediately came to mind is, you could have tens of thousands of followers that listen to this podcast potentially at some point, and tens of thousands of views, and they all can count on Gary Haskins to deliver them an interview, interviews with people that if they listen to the interview, it's going to help them get to a next level in their life. Well, to me, immediately what I thought of when you just said that was, I don't care who you interview. I don't care if it's Bill Gates or whoever it is. What I'm looking for is that person speaking through their story, what they think is success, or are we actually meeting that person? Like, is it this is everything I think I need to be and think I need to have, and this is the story that supports that, so that identity doesn't crumble? Or is that a person that's been willing to break down those barriers of tightly held identity, or their way of making sense of the world, and you're talking to their heart? Because I don't think true value happens until you're really talking to someone's heart.
Yeah, that's why they call it a heart to heart.
Right.
Yeah, it's opening up. It's like opening up a door, and you like, that's authenticity. That's so true, man. Like, it's because we're all not talking when we converse, like on in the street or something. It's like we're just, it's closed off. Like, we don't know. Like, we don't love, man. Like, when you open up and you speak, when you speak from the heart, people feel it. But they have to also have their heart open. It's like, it's a two-way street. Like, you can't just, because like, people will probably think you're weird because I try to do that, man. I try to like speak from the heart. I try to love people, but I can tell that everybody's closed off, and it's tough. But occasionally there are people out there that I can tell have that open heart, and I'm speaking to their heart, and it's something special. You can tell there's a feeling in you that says, wow, this person is real. This person is authentic. This is this is a legitimate conversation that's going to help me grow, or just not even like help me grow, just like it's just going to make me feel good. And I can tell that this person has love. And it's a rare thing, but imagine the world we would live in if that was where everybody based their decisions is from the heart. Now, how would you describe what that means to speak? Like, give me a for instance, to mean speak from the heart. Like, if you want to open up your heart to somebody, is that like selflessness? Is that sacrifice? Is that dispelling your ego? Like, what would you say that is?
Vulnerability.
Oh, okay. So you're just letting it all out to them, like you're making yourself just you don't care what this person thinks. You're just all of your feelings and emotions that could potentially, I guess, harm you or think could harm you. You're just letting them have it.
That's a good question. And I would, on the surface, I would say no. But on a soul level, I would say yes. I'll example. So there's somebody that I work with who, when I speak to this person, you know, they lay it all out there. Fears about their position, fears about their job, things that they don't like about management, things that they don't like about the company, things that they do like about what they're an open book. And I don't associate being an open book with being in your power and being vulnerable. I think there's a fine line to draw between I'm opening up my heart to you versus I am just spilling my guts and putting all this energy out there that really doesn't push us forward, doesn't contribute to our, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. So I don't know how to describe that though, because I just know what the difference is deep down. And it's just like you can just tell when, you know, I mean, you don't always have to have an open heart and when you talk to people, but there is, like, when you get to the nitty and gritty, it is a thing, man, to just be, and it's kind of just comes down to also just recognizing that the person you're interacting with or people that you're interacting with are other people or souls, and they're other just like you, and we're all in this thing just like you, and we're all going through our own shit just like I am. And with that recognition comes the love, it comes the opening of the heart, and from there you act accordingly. And that's probably the best way that I could describe acting with an open heart.
Yeah, because you know what, that resonates completely, because it's not like there's a script for it. There's not like there's a how-to, because I could say something to you right now that doesn't land and I'm saying it from the mind, boom. But that same sentence being inspired from like a gut feeling, something that you said, it could completely change the feeling of that same exact sentence, you know? So it's not about this combination of words or whatever. It's about the underlying motivation or driver for those words. You know what I mean?
Intention. It's all about intention, man.
100%.
It's all
100%.
about, that's all life, dude. And I think that's also what karma is about. When people speak about karma, it comes down to your intention behind your actions. And I mean, do you think that is a thing, or like a principle of the universe, is like karma, where you reap what you sow? Because I do sometimes. I go back and forth. Like all of these concepts, honestly, all of these concepts, these profound concepts, I go back and forth. Like one day I'm at karma. No, that's not a thing. It's all just random events. And then something happens and I'm just like, no, like, you know, that they're just reaping what they sowed. This is how it's supposed to be. And it's just like my mind goes back and forth, but it's fun to think about and it's fun to talk about.
Well, now that makes me curious with you, is because I know a special someone in my life that believes vehemently in karma. But I want to ask you, like, what do you think the difference is? So if I'm a person that's like going into my spiritual journey and like exploring, and I've heard things from my thoughts create my reality to karma. What do you think the degree of cause and effect between what you do and how you feel is versus like were you destined for that karma? Were you headed for that karma? Like, you know what I mean? Do you control on some level the karma loop that you're in? Like, what do you think of that?
Yeah, that's also an idea I go back and forth on. I think it's a blend between predestination and free will. In free will, talking about karma. So you have, and I think the karma is it's pretty much infinite, dependent upon your previous karma. So okay, let me try and gather my thoughts here when I explain it. So we have like this line, we have this journey we're going through in life, and we're always it's the same destination. You know, I guess we're gonna die, but we're all gonna go through certain lessons in our life based upon our previous karma, based upon our previous karmic decisions, whether it's in, people say it's in previous lifetimes, could be, who knows, but we'll just say this lifetime. And from there, we get put through certain situations to learn lessons and to grow and to just experience life. And you are going to go through those things and go through those lessons no matter what. And I think it's based upon your karma. So it's based upon your intention behind those actions. So like you're gonna get there. It's just a matter of when, based upon your actions and your intentions. If that even makes sense. It's like, I don't know if I'm explaining it correctly. Like I said, I'm not a guru. But it's like we're all getting to the same place. But before we get to that place, we have to learn the lessons. Like we all have to go through those things, and those things come based upon our decisions. It's very profound, man. It's not, I'm not one to speak on that. I'm really honestly not, because I'm still learning myself. But that's pretty much what I got from it. Is like, it's not like, karma isn't like, if I do this, then if I cut somebody off, then I'm going to get cut off tomorrow. It's more of like, if I cut somebody off, I'm going to learn what it's like to be disrespected. I might get cut off tomorrow, but I'm going to be put through the lesson, or have the potential to be put through that lesson, to know what it's like to be cut off. And if I don't learn that lesson, it's going to come up again through my karma. That's how I see it. I might be totally butchering it, but that's how my internal interpretation of what that is. Okay. But when you talk about karma, it's in the traditional sense. It's like, this is like, we are here fulfilling our karma. That's what the kind of the purpose is. And it's this whole, it envelops the entire universe, and it all through multiple lifetimes. So, and until we reap what we sow within our karma, and learn the lessons and learn who we truly are through our karma, we're going to keep being born again in different bodies and different lifetimes. And essentially what the concept of karma comes down to is that we're all here for one big lesson, in a way. And the lesson is to realize and know who we are. And it's not like bad or good, positive or negative. It's just like, you do this and you're going to learn what it's like, so your soul can grow. Like, you do this, and then this may happen to you because you did this, and that's going to help your soul grow and evolve. It's a profound topic, man. It's very far out. It's not like the simple Americanized karma,
Yeah.
It's I probably didn't do that well explaining it, but that's how I kind of see it at this point.
No, I think that was, as your explanation unfolded, I think that was powerful, because, and I'm not going to give away any spoilers here, okay? I'm going to do my best not to, but we're going to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, okay?
Okay.
And have you finished it? Have you been through it?
Marvel
all the Marvel movies, like the Avengers?
I've seen like the first Avengers, and that's pretty much it, man.
All right, so I won't go into too many details, but there's a situation that happens with Thor, who is the god of thunder, and he goes through this. he has to learn this lesson the hard way, where his power is not his his hammer. The hammer is meant to help him channel his power, but he is so much more beyond the hammer. And so he may have to go through lessons that facilitate that understanding at a soul level, because we could intellectually get that. Oh yeah, my hammer is this, and I'm this. But until you are forced to do something without that object that you identified with, you aren't going to really understand what can be, drawn out of you, what can come out of you. And so when you said that, I thought about that for a minute, like in terms of the greater lesson that we're meant to learn or going to learn is like, we think we're all these things. No, we think that we're here to, and I guess I could be projecting. I'm going to speak through like my old paradigm. We think that we're here to make all this money, to live this American dream. We think that our power is our thoughts. When like, I can be rich, I can visualize the mansion, I can visualize the 10 boats and 10 cars, and I'm human and a deer can't do that. So this is my purpose, to manipulate the world around. But really, like, we're a lot more than that.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the more we cling on and egoify things, the more shit we're going to go through to understand that this isn't it. Like, there's more here for you to feel and see and be and connect to,
Yeah, and that's our karma, dude. I mean, that's Buddhism too. That's just, like you said, we cling. All of our problems stem. It's funny because we can talk about it, but we still do it.
Yeah.
All of our problems stem from our clinging. Like, our mind just wants to latch on to things that think are going to make us happy. Like, I could say that, oh, I'm not attached, I don't cling to anything, but I know my mind will cling to some kind of pleasure or something, like my car or a new phone or this drink. Oh, this is awesome, I love this. Or a person, or just something that I think is ultimately going to make me realize my inner truth, my inner being, or just be happy. But it's not. And you know why? Because those things are gonna fade. Everything that you think is gonna make you happy, it's not going to make you happy. And it's funny because it's not. So the colloquial term of happiness, the American happiness, that's not what, real happiness is. Real infinite consciousness, infinite happiness, like that. It should be a different word, and I'm pretty sure there is in Sanskrit, but I just don't know it. But we'll use happy for now. Real happiness goes beyond, like you said, clinging anything. It really goes beyond. It goes beyond just like your mind. It is just simply being, and that is we reap our karma, and we learn our lessons through our attachments in a way until we reach that point. And that's what the Hindus and Buddhists say, man. It's pretty profound. But like, if that's the truth, right? So if it actually is true that reincarnation is real, that we go through multiple lives, and that is what we do. I've lived multiple lives, and you've lived multiple lives. And the truth is that we're living multiple lives so we can learn lessons until we reach, like, we reach nirvana. That's what it's called. It's nirvana. Isn't that insane? Isn't that just so insane that that's the truth, right? If it is, I don't know. Like I said, I like to explore all ideas, like everything of like all existential, whatever it is. But I like to run it through my head, and it sounds good and it kind of makes sense. If that's the truth, then we are so lost as a people, man, because 7.5 billion people, and we don't know that. Look, we've had millions of lives. You're probably going to have millions of lives in the future too. And you better do your work, man. You better get it right, and because that's what they say, is you're going to keep coming back because you have more lessons to learn. You didn't learn your lessons. The karma, the thing is with karma, you build your bad or good karma through your actions, right? Like we talked about. So most people that are so lost and not doing their work and not following the Dharma, they're building up this karma and they're just adding, like, so this is like a really simple way to put it. They could take an action where they, like, say some guy like shoots a guy in the face. He could have added about 1,000,000 lives to his karma. So he's going to keep coming back in the cycle to see what it's like to really suffer because he committed that act, where he might be going through those lives, and every single one of those lives, he's the one that gets shot in the face or some shit, or just like something along those lines. It's all about lessons that our soul has to learn. And if that's the truth, like I said, Paul, what are we doing? Like, what is going on, man? Like, we're so lost. Everybody's caught up in money, Donald Trump, who's got the bigger butt. It's like, no, man. Like, that's not what it's meant. Like, human beings, like you said, are so much greater, bro. We are God. We are quite literally, like they say in the Bible, we are quite literally, God made us in his image, right? Or was the other way around? We are a part of God. And if that's true, we are a part of God. Like, bro, we got to get our mind right. We got to seriously know what humans are. We are spiritual beings having this journey for the purpose so we can come to reside in heaven. It's true. This is the truth. I'm giving you the scoop right now. We live multiple lives so we can eventually get to heaven. Heaven isn't when we die. It's so we can keep building our lives up and keep learning until we reach the state that this guy reached. See this guy? This is Buddha. He reached that state, but he said himself that he lived millions of lifetimes until he reached that point. And he came back for his last life to teach us these lessons. Siddhartha Gautama, he taught us, and nobody's listening. There's some people that are listening, but what I'm trying to get at, and I don't even know where this point started, man. I'm going off, is we're lost and we need to find ourselves. And that starts with opening the heart to each other.
So then I want you to break this down for me even further then. And if you have to, just make it up. Make up your answer. I don't care. Okay. I don't care. Like, I'm not looking for validation from anything. Mm-hmm. I'm listening to this for the first time, theoretically, right? And I'm thinking to myself, okay, Gary, fantastic. How do I do that? How? What's the process?
Do what?
Okay, so it could go through stages, this question. The first stage is I'm terrified to death of having to go through this thing 1,000,000 times, and I'm scared of making the wrong step so that I have to live again and learn the lessons and blah, 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 all that, and keep going. So you're telling me that the key is to open up the heart and really be receptive to Dharma, which, by the way, I want to know what that is. And second of all, what is that process to opening up the heart? How can I level up my consciousness, right? Level up, be somebody who is willing to be awakened and willing to be aware, so that I can move forward and don't have to constantly revisit and go through this lifetime of questioning and struggle and all this stuff. How can we streamline this process?
So if somebody did come up to me and ask me that, which I would be,
what would you say?
If somebody did ask me that, I'd be like, wow, man, I would say that's the first step, is first be curious. And I said, you already started the journey right there. And I say, the second step is this. Go find a quiet room. Close your eyes. And for a second, just sit there with your eyes closed and follow your breath. And see what that feels like. For 10 minutes, because most people can't. Most people cannot do that. It is the simplest thing in the world is the hardest thing to do. It's to just be. And see how that feels. And once you know how that feels and see and to reside on the other side of your thoughts, that's the start. And from there, you take your actions, you act from that place. If you can continually go back to that place, and some people say you get information from the universe when you meditate, and maybe that's true. But all that matters is that when you meditate, I think it makes you a better person. However it works, But when you meditate, it makes you closer to your heart, closer to God, whatever you want to talk about. And I would say just simply know how that feels and act from that feeling. And those actions will better facilitate your good karma. And I'm not saying that this, you still might have to live a million years, but if you start with that foundation and essentially just come to meditate and realize what you are and what is really going on, and to know that that's beyond your thoughts, that's how you start. I don't know. Everybody has their own journey and their own actions to take to, their own karma to reap. But I know it starts by stilling the mind, and everybody's capable of doing that. Like, there's not a person on this earth that isn't capable of just simply being and just it's funny too, because like I said, dude, it's the simplest thing. Why is it so hard for everybody to just be like this without having to be like, oh man, I gotta like go look at my phone, like because I'm still susceptible to that. Like I meditate like every day, but there's still like, I'm not in that constant meditative state, which I don't even know if that's the goal, but like I'm still find myself not aligned, and like I find myself like saying things that I probably shouldn't have said, or or doing things that I probably shouldn't have done. But at least I know and I recognize those things now, and that's something that has to be done. And like I said, because when you act from that place, you become aware, and that's the first step. And with that awareness, you take action. You learn, you become aware, you learn the lesson, and you take action so it doesn't have to happen again. And that's how we create a better world.
This is really
it's pretty far up.
It's not far out in the sense of like, oh my God, what are these guys talking about? It's far out in the sense of like, how I feel is that this is actually stretching my thoughts a little bit, and it's making me ask some questions. It's actually drawing out of me things that I feel like I want to say, that feel like are really important for me to say.
Mm-hmm.
And
why not? Go ahead. This is the time.
Yeah. And I don't know if it feels so important to me to say because it's a truth like we talked about at the beginning, or if it's because it's an unraveling of my personal story to this point. But there's some deep, heavy attachment. Like I can feel it in here as you were talking about that. There's like this heaviness that comes with perceiving, even having the ability to perceive something as a mistake. Okay. Now that's important to me because I'm thinking about meditation, and a big issue that I had with meditation was, okay, so mistakes and expectations. The fact that I even believe that I can do something wrong, the conceptualization of right, wrong, good, bad, I feel like fundamentally is an issue as well, because who is saying good, bad, right, wrong? Where is that voice coming from? What set of values drove that definition of what is right and what is wrong?
Yeah. I would say, well, you can either get that from the world, like, a lot of people base their morals on laws, which not all laws are just. We all know that.
Can't.
I think you have to base that, like we talked about in the beginning, on your heart. Like, you just know there's some things in certain acts that you take and you facilitate that you just know are right. Like this, I don't know what it is. Like, everybody knows that killing another person is not good. That's the first yogic principle, ahimsa, is nonviolence, right? And that is, I guess that is me getting my morals from a moral code, but it's still, it means something. Like that's in every religion, right? Every single religion is pretty much like, don't harm anybody, like no violence. And I think that is something innately built in us as people, but we still do it. Isn't it crazy that we still, like, we have war and just so much hatred, but I think the right thing to do is nonviolence. And there's other aspects and things too, like non-stealing. It's pretty much selflessness, man. It's love, you know, and it's knowing you base your decisions and your morals upon knowing that the other person is the same exact person as you. Like if you you know Ram Dass?
Yes.
He says treat everybody as if when you meet them, treat them as if they're God in drag. And that's kind of how I see and base my decisions, is that this person is, if I were to meet God on the street, God Almighty, but he's just dressed up, he has like a little, he's got some, you know, suit on and a hat, how am I going to treat that person? You know, like that's how I base my decisions. And I think that's where everybody's moral compass should be, because that's the thing, is we are all God in drag. That's the secret. That's the thing they don't want to tell you, is that we're literally all God, but we're just playing a game. We're playing a game, Paul. This is it, man. I'm telling you, we're all, this is the trick of life. We're all Brahman. Brahman is it's the consciousness, right? We're all this one band and energy wavelength, right? Which is, some people would say, is God, right? I say that's God. We are all this one band. But God decided to play a trick on himself to have a little fun. And he decided to say, all right, what I'm going to do is make myself into an infinite subjective consciousness so I can play this game. And it's called the game of life, aka the game of love. And in this game, you have the choice. It's between you fear the other person, which isn't real, or you can love the other person. And love is the truth, because how can you not love yourself, right? We are all quite literally the same thing. So if I know that deep down, and I know that, and I do, dude, I know that 100%, and there's nobody that can tell me that's not the truth, because I know that every single person is me. They might look a little different, they might smell a little different, they might talk a little different, but at the end of the day, at their core, deep down, they are me. We're at our core, in our heart, we're the same exact thing. So that's how I treat people. And it's tough. It's easier said than done, because like I said, a lot of people just, they don't have good energy. They just don't have the vibe. They don't have their heart open, like we talked about. They're very, very closed off, and just like their heart chakra is just like, there's nothing coming out of them. But that still doesn't give you the excuse to harm them and be violent and treat them with disrespect or see them as lower. And you know, you might have your own way of dealing with people, but that's how I base my decisions. It's, we're all God in drag. What do you think?
I think that's interesting.
Can I ask you something?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Can you say something?
No, go.
When I say the word God, what does that mean to you? Because that means a lot to a lot of people. And when I say that, people might think like, God, the man in the sky with a beard, he has the puppet strings and he's pulling. It's like, no, I don't mean that. I mean, literally, it's infinite consciousness. That's what we are. So when I say that to you, what does that mean?
Yeah.
It could mean nothing. You could just say nothing. Because that I used to think that meant nothing, but I kind of see life in a different light now.
Yeah, for a long time, because I grew up with that personification of God, this man in the sky, beard, power overall. You know, I grew up with that, and unraveling that idea was a process. And then when I was exposed to the law of attraction, The Secret, I substituted that version of God for the universe. So then when I spoke about godly or God-oriented things, it was the universe. And then I slowly started to realize that when I pictured what that meant, it was largely influenced by the graphic and imagery shown in that movie, where they show all these like little atoms and molecules, electricity, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so then at that point, I began to question and wonder, it's like, I'm going to always be limited in, when I think about what God is, this entity. I don't know that I'm ever going to accurately picture it, but when I talk about God now, when I reference God, when I say God, because sometimes it feels right and good to say God, it's connection. It's this visceral, like awareness
Mhm.
and energy that's kind of like flowing that I can feel in my chest right now. I can feel in my arm right now. It's just like God. And
Yep.
I mean no attachment whatsoever to any religious entity,
Yeah.
to any entity that your ego is going to project to help you understand this way out concept. It's God. I'm talking about the essence of the word that I feel when I
Yeah.
say God. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, dude. Because that's a connection. That's what it is. That's 100% what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And that is the basis for, I don't know about all, because I'm not a religious scholar, but most religions, that's the basis. It's that fundamental feeling of connection and love
Yes.
and compassion. But what
Yes.
happens is people put symbols on
Yes.
that and they create stories to describe that, and people get attached to
Yes.
those symbols and stories and think the symbol is what God is. But I'm like, no, you have that backwards. The symbol, it's a symbol that means something that's within you. So Jesus Christ, right? Whether or not he was a real guy, I think there was a lot of Jesus Christ. I think Christ consciousness is an energy that is within us, and Jesus represents sacrifice that every human being has to go through. We sacrifice our ego so that we can reach the Christ consciousness to be compassionate and loving toward other people, because that's what he preached, man. Jesus preached love. God is love. I don't know. I never really read the Bible in its entirety, but the basis is that it's sacrifice. The image of him on the cross is his sacrifice, opening his heart, in that the sacrifice is in your ego, because you can't love thy neighbor if you're caught in your ego and caught in the Hummer in your driveway or something like that.
True.
It's a symbol, just like Buddha is a symbol, dude. He's the symbol of how to still your mind. He might not even been a real person, but it's the symbol between, why do you think they build 100-foot statues in the East? Because they want to show the symbol. It's not the guy. It's not about Buddha. They don't want to pray and bow down to him. They maybe actually people do, but it's what's behind that, in the stilling the mind, and that's how you come to it. Like all religions, they're all focused around the same thing. It's just people are just lost in the symbols, and people have wars over the symbols, and they get in fights, and they do these weird rituals over these symbols when they have no clue the truth of the words that are in the book, or what the prophets said is in us. It's innately in us, and it's right here right now. And it's a sickness, man. It's a sickness of the head. Really.
Well, to build on that, my favorite quote, and I'm gonna butcher this, but literally, like, I read this and I was like, hold on. I think it was either Ralph Waldo Emerson or Henry David Thoreau. I can't remember which it was, and
Mm-hmm.
I apologize, not either one of them, but it said, was it Lao Tzu? I don't know. It was.
One of those
That's a
guys.
huge jump.
Yeah.
But it was like, nature never rushes, yet everything gets done.
Hmm.
And that hit me because, especially in this achievement paradigm, this achievement paradox, where you can see the gods, the stereotypical version of God, the gods of art, the Elon Musks, the Mark Zuckerbergs, the Larry Ellisons, the Mark Benioffs, these people that are just driving 60, 70, 80 hours a week, change the world. Right? These are the people that we build statues of in the United States of America. This is the model of greatness, right? Yeah. And really what that quote tells me, the hugest conflict that you can have is if I go over there right now and I sit for an hour, okay, and let everything come up, first of all, I think to myself, wait a minute, isn't there something I need to do to
Mm-hmm.
to facilitate this stillness, isn't there? So then a thought comes up, oh, you need to go do the laundry, you need to go wash the dishes. That's something for me to literally do. So
Yeah.
now I've got to do that because we're in a doing, achieving culture. But I can get more done, and I can achieve more alignment, connection, closeness, clarity by just, dude, like my heart beats and I have no say in the matter.
Yep.
My cells multiply and divide and I have no say in the matter. Life is being, life is doing. Yet we've got this control complex that says if I don't do XYZ or interject control on some level, then I'm going to die. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know how that was relevant. It felt relevant, but I just like, yeah, it's that stillness paradox, of like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, those are our gods, and it's just like we got lost in the symbolism of the religions, we get lost in the symbolism of the American culture. I know exactly what you're saying, man, but
Yeah.
it's whatever the symbol is, it's taking us further away from getting back to the original topic, the ultimate truth. We're so disconnected, man. We are so far from where we came from, and we're so far from our origin. And I don't know. We got a long way to go, man. But there are a lot of people waking up, man. There's a lot of people that are kind of seeing, on the same vibe. But it's a slow process. We're getting there. And
Oh, sorry.
it's tough, dude. And I was just gonna say, it's just like our world isn't facilitating that, like with our phone. It's almost like it's trying to take us further and further away from who we really are.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was actually talking to Chris about this last night about feeding the machine, right? So something happened a couple years ago. I got myself in some very deep financial trouble, right?
Mm-hmm.
Very deep financial water. And I made a commitment from that point on to get myself out of the situation and then reframe my relationship with debt and money in general, right? So I say all that to say, okay, I got an email from my credit card company that said, hey, we've noticed your account hasn't been active for this amount of time. We're going to close your account. And I thought to myself in that moment, isn't that something? If you close my account, what's going to happen is that's going to be a credit line that's going to drop from my account, which is going to show lower credit limits, which is going to impact my credit score, and this whole cascading thing, right? And then I started to think, wow, this whole concept of my credit score is so integral to me being somebody.
Like you identified with it.
Yeah, like I need to, oh, that can't happen. I need to have this line of credit open, and I need to, if I find something to stimulate the line of credit so I can keep my credit score going. So I'm seen as worthy from financial institutions and other
Crazy.
people potentially.
Yeah.
And now I've got to feed the machine in ways that I normally wouldn't. I got to consume XYZ that I normally don't need or want to, but I think I do because I've got to be somebody here.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden that thing defines me. And all I'm doing is feeding the machine.
A 3-digit number. Isn't it craziness?
Yeah. My point about all that is there's not necessarily a financial awareness conversation. It's more of like just recognizing how, like that truth, how we buy into and identify with concepts that can't possibly scratch the surface on who we are, the value that we bring, what we're meant to do here. Like it's completely disconnected from our sense of self. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, man. It's because we were born. I believe that we were born into a system, like a grid in the matrix, whatever you want to call it. Like we were born in this game. It's like a game. and you have to see yourself out of, man. Like we're born into it's crazy and it's peculiar. When you look at the big picture, it's like, I don't know if my soul asked for it. Some people say like you're born here and like, you know, you chose this life, but it feels like, why would I choose this life? I don't know. It just seems like weird to be born in this. But I think I did. I think that's just part of the game. It's like, why would I be born into this? Like, it's quite literally a system that's built to keep us. I don't know, like, would you say feed the machine? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's built for us to feed the machine, dude. It's just this giant machine that's just sucking all of the energy out of us to the best of its ability. And the currency of it is our labor, essentially, or it's our ideas. And it's just like this. It is a machine, man. It is like, it's this, when you look at like the American system or the Western world or just capitalism or whatever you want to call it, humanity as a whole, it's this giant machine that we're feeding through our pursuits and our efforts. And it's I mean, if you could look at that and be what's the word I'm looking for? You could be like, not depressed, but like
Cynical,
yeah, cynical or intimidated by it. But
yeah,
to me, I just see that as that's just part of the game that I was born into in this life. You know, my saying is like, you gotta play the game or the game's gonna play you. So, you know, I see life as almost like a game, dude. It really is, especially in the system that we're born into. It's just like, it has rules. We have credit scores. It's like your points. It's like, where are you on the leaderboards, man? You have a credit score. You're doing good. You're at the top. You're doing good, man. It's like a video game, bro. You got to play by the rules. And that's just part of it, man. You could just get lost in the ebb and flow. And once you realize that this life is just a game, then that's when you can kind of take the controller and learn the tricks of the trade of the controller and know how to like, you know, like the cheat codes and certain things that other people don't know. And that's just another part of the game, like credit score and shit like that, dude. Just, I would say just, you know, it's hard not to identify with that because we identify with money so much and as our identity, you know, we that's literally our, you know, that's how we eat. That's how we stay alive in a way. But just know that's just one of the rules. And if you know how to, you know, if you know how to abide by the rules, yet, but also still at the same time keeping your sanity and staying true to yourself and treating other people with selflessness, that's the best you can do. Just don't identify with it. Don't identify with the money. Like a lot of people identify with their jobs. They identify with their bank account or they identify with their material possessions. Look at this car, man. Everyone wants to, when they get a new car, everyone wants to show off their new car. It's just something. I see all of these things and obstacles in my life that, you know, bills, all the bullshit of life, whatever it is, the drama of life. I see those as just part of this game. It's like another challenge. It's another boss. It's another level that I just gotta get through so that I can better facilitate my own happiness in a way, my own understanding and my own, I guess you could say, enlightenment. And it's just part of the system, dude. I see life as just this giant meditation, and all these obstacles and shit that comes in, it's just another thing in my meditation so that it can, my mind can check myself to come back into the self and the understanding. And the better that I can get through the bullshit of life, the better it strengthens my mindfulness and awareness to help me grow. You feel?
Yeah, I absolutely do. I absolutely do, because this part of the reason it sucks. Like, this sucks that I like the Matrix I so much, because it's almost like when you talk about us being born here, right? And that's a whole other discussion. But essentially, if you've seen the Matrix, okay, hopefully this resonates. If not, hopefully it still resonates. But either way, okay. So if it wasn't for the Matrix, like, as much as the Matrix sucked, there would be nothing to draw out the awareness within Neo and everybody that supported Neo. Like, that was the greatest facilitator of consciousness there ever could have been for him. Yeah. And whether you talk about the Matrix or whether you talk about a superhero movie, right? the villains that rise up to mirror the protagonist end up drawing something out of them
Yeah.
that they wouldn't have. So here we are. And you can observe the madness, right? Like, you can observe the stuff that makes this thing even relevant. And you can say, screw it, I wish it wasn't this way. But ultimately, it's given us a canvas and a backdrop and contrast for us to recognize, like, this thing inside of us that says, wait a minute.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's allowing us to even be aware and understand what that means.
Exactly, man. Exactly. And I used to have the mindset of like, oh, not even that long ago, like, woe is me. This sucks. Why did this happen to me? Why do I have to go to work? Why do I have to pay bills? Why did I stub my toe? Like, why me? Why is this happening to me? And I realized I know why this is happening to me, because this is actually I had the wrong mindset about it, and I turned my mindset around. I realized this is actually making it so it brings me closer to myself. I'm like, all of this is actually for me. It's not happening to me. The suffering is for me, just like it was for Neo. The Matrix the movie is like a perfect analogy, or just like, it is amazing. Like, I actually have to rewatch that, dude. I really do. I like, because it's just, I'm at a new understanding of life, and I feel like it would hit me in a different way now. But it's a perfect analogy for just the literal matrix that we live in. Like, all of these things, we are Neo, and all of this matrix is throwing tricks at us and doing these things so that we can become the hero in this movie, and we can become the game. But you have to first take the red pill and realize, wake up and know that this is the matrix, and you are the hero. You are the main character. And all of these things that you thought weren't for you were actually for you to wake up. It sounds cliche, but it's so you can wake up. Ram Dass has a quote. He said, suffering is actually grace. Like, once you realize that your suffering is actually grace, it's actually good that you suffer, because it's actually for you. It seems like counterintuitive. Like, it seems like, what do you mean we're supposed to, we're supposed to suffer. We're supposed to go through this stuff so we can awaken to the truth that is within all of us. We're not, when you play the victim mentality, when you play the victim card, it's only making you weaker. It's all perspective, man. That's why I opened and started this podcast, because I realized that life is all perspective. And when you have that conscious perspective of life, and you realize and you fully see what is really going on in this crazy reality that we live in, you realize that it's all perfect. It's happening for a reason, and it's happening for you, but only if you first wake up and become aware that it's happening for you. And we got a long way to go for everybody to be on that wavelength, but doing what I can do. We're all doing what we can do. It all happened in everybody's own time, and everybody has their own journey. It's magical, dude, because it's just like, it's like almost like a feeling of I'm invulnerable to like all the bad things. I see the lesson in a lot. I mean, there's some things where I'm just like, dude, that sucked. Obviously, I'm just like, oh, it sucks. But I always try to see the lesson. There's always a lesson in everything, I think. If you really look hard enough and you really dig deep and meditate upon things hard enough, there's something in there that happened so you could grow.
Yeah. Wow. I think what's going to be interesting, especially as the days and weeks continue to unfold, and you've done the work, and you're doing the work to lead you to be here leading this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And then in my own way, doing the work that made me somebody that you were on the same wavelength with, and we could connect and talk about this. Ultimately, what I'm trying to say is, it's going to be interesting to see how this all starts to fit together, because ultimately, at the end of the day, when I began to meditate, I used to reject meditation, because I'm like, well, if I begin to meditate, I'm going to become lazy, mindless bum who will never do anything, never make any money, never make it anywhere in my life. And now, obviously, there's a lot of toxicity that comes with being pure in the ego and purely in the achiever mindset. And I feel like sometimes I wish, not that I wish, I don't actually wish, but I would wonder hey, what if I didn't know this stuff? I could just like toe the line at this company. I could just be a really good high performer and make a lot of money, invest my money, retire comfortably, have a good family. But then there's this other part of me that's like, no, that's not the way. That's not the path. Like, there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be interesting to see how these two worlds that from the ego are seemingly different, how they collide. How does your spiritual awakening actually unlock the pathway to greater wealth, abundance, happiness, impact?
Yeah.
Whereas before we thought they were more mutually exclusive. You could
Yeah.
either have one or the other. You could be Buddha and have nothing, or you could be ego and have millions of dollars. How are these two worlds going to collide so that impact, awakening, spirituality actually pave the way for greater abundance and just massive prosperity?
Yeah, that's really interesting, dude. That's like that's the middle path. That's the Buddha actually didn't even preach that everybody should be like him. He knew that there were I don't know if this is a Buddhist concept or a yogic concept, but there's people that go to ashrams, which are places you live and you become a monk. And then, but there's also regular, like layman people. Like there's people just living in the world and have work to do because, not everybody can be Buddha. That's just not going to
Right.
work. But he said that that's necessary. Like we need both of those people. And that doesn't mean you give up your spiritual practice. That doesn't mean you get lost in the sauce. That just means that you have a different purpose. There's a saying that's like, before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. And then after enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. So did we say that in the last podcast? I don't know if we did. Okay. So, but it's the same thing. It's like when you're in this world, when you still do your work, we still go through the motions and do what we have to do. But it's a different viewpoint. It's a different perspective in the actions that you take, because I don't think I would want to be like, that's not my path to just be in a monastery and just meditate all day. I don't see how that would help me grow, because I see my purpose as I'm here for others. So like, I'm not really helping others by being there. That's not for me. That might be somebody else's karmic path. And maybe that might be mine later on in my life. Who knows? But right now, I think that's a little too much. It's just as bad doing that as it is becoming, the next Donald Trump billionaire in my eyes. It's actually, I wouldn't say it's just as bad. It's two sides of the same coin, because if you're not fulfilling your purpose, then you're not, either way. Like if you're not fulfilling your purpose being Buddha in the monastery doing nothing, then you're still going to be unhappy. And if you're Donald Trump, billions of dollars looking for happiness and in materialism, then you're still not going to find happiness. It has to be that middle ground, dude. I'm glad you said that. It's such a true thing. Like how do those two things coincide? So do you have that one part of you that tells you should be like the Buddha and just meditate all day, and they just constantly fight? You have that one that wants to just sit down and meditate, go out in the woods and hug a tree. And then you have another one that says like, no, dude, you got work to do.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah. I feel that too. But I realize that the truth doesn't lie in either of those. The truth lies in falling in between the ebb and flow, because I always picture myself at an ashram and being a monk. And I'm just like, I think after the first week it would get old. I think it'd be like, all right, dude, I'm going home. Like, this is too much. So I don't think it's for me. Not yet, at least. I don't know. I'm not going to say I'm not going to give it up. I'm not going to, like, there's no definites. But for me, it just doesn't seem like we're getting anywhere. Like, I see life as a lot greater than doing nothing. Like, life is facilitating so other people can get to the point of happiness. That's how I see it, at least. That's just me though, but it is a struggle, man. And I think it's also because we are men, and you can debate it as much as you want, but there are fundamental differences in how men and women act in this life and how we, our roles in this life. And that might be a controversial thing to say, but it's true, man. As a man, we're biologically ingrained to be the provider. We're biologically ingrained to be the man. Everyone wants to be the one who puts food on the table and be the man. And every person everyone wants a family, but in order to have those things and be the dad and the man of the family, you can't be the Buddha. So it's just like it's like a fight between, I guess, your biology and I don't want to say your spirituality, because they can still blend, but it's like a fight between, it's not even a fight. It's just like working between two opposing forces to find out the truth in the middle. It's tough, dude. It's tough, dude.
Yeah.
Hey, you're not alone. Just say you're not, just know you're not alone. Because I feel
Well, it's interesting because I don't know. Have you heard of Bentinho Massaro?
I don't think so. Oh,
Right,
wait. I think I have. Yeah, go ahead, though.
It's a guy. I mean, depending on where you're at, the guy is either gonna like blow your mind or somewhere in between of like, what the hell are you talking about, dude? But he said one time, he was like, what's the higher third? What's the higher third? I'm like, what does this mean? He goes, the human mind is always thinking either or, right? Like either I'm rich and unhappy or I'm broke and feel bad about my life.
Mm-hmm.
It's either or. It's always either or. You know, either you make me really mad and I confront you, we blow up and fight, or you make me really mad and I withdraw, don't say anything, and harbor a whole bunch of resentment and put a fake smile on it. But what is the higher third? And he said that the answer cannot come from the ego. Albert Einstein says you can't solve the problem in the same mental space that you created the problem in, right? So if I'm stuck in this energy of thinking about, like rich and unhappy, or poor and okay with myself, then obviously like you mentioned before, what are the steps to the open heart? Like number one is that awareness that you're thinking in that term. And then two, can you just, do you have the courage? It takes a lot of courage to ask, what if? What if, like, these weren't the only two options? What if it wasn't really this way? What if there was a third option that I can't perceive yet, that I don't have all the information about yet? What if there was a way that third option, that ideal option, could come into my life? I could download it from the cosmos or whatever, you know? What if I am looking at this thing through a limited perspective? What if? And that's all you got to ask. And then from asking, this energy space of being curious and asking, like you said before, the curiosity, what if that starts to open up a part of you that can now perceive what you couldn't perceive before, where you download both realities and options that weren't there? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. What was it? What was the term you used? The higher third?
Yeah, what's the higher third? Like, you see this and this. Where's this? You know?
Yeah, it's weird how our mind like latches on to certain polarities. It's like either this or this. It's so true. But it's almost like we create the higher third. Because like you said, you recognize, you become aware of those 2 points, the two polar opposites. And that's the first step, but we create that third, that, you know, we're the ones that have to create that through our polar opposites. And it's just, you know, getting back to the original idea, man, it's when you know you're not a slave to your thoughts. They don't serve us. We serve, no, we don't, no, what am I trying to say? We are not a servant to our thoughts. Our thoughts are a servant to us. Once you realize that you can affect your thoughts and affect those polarities, and it's not either or, that's when you create that higher third. Yeah, man, that's very true. That's very true. I like that. Oh man, it's a process, man. I don't know. It just comes down to just being happy in the moment. You just knowing that it's all part of the process. It doesn't, you know, you don't have to be at a certain point. There is no point that you're going to be at, like, of having X amount of money or having X amount of, you know, times that you've meditated, or, you know, you meditated for 2 hours. Either one of those isn't going to bring you to your highest potential. Your highest potential is just realizing how amazing this current moment is, man. It's just like right now. And from that, you create whatever life you want. That's where manifestation comes from. It's just being 100%. Like people think that being present, what are you going to do being present, man? Like, what does that even mean? Like, you need to have a house and build your future. But the actual the truth of it is, the more present you are, the better future you have, because it's like when you're more in the moment, because we're always in the moment. You can't help that, right? We don't have a choice. We're always here existing. So when you're more involved in the moment, you take the actions for yourself that better cultivate a life, a better life in the future. When rather, if you're not in the moment, if you're in the past or thinking about the future, you're going to not be able to take the actions that you can take. When people, it's like people think like being in the moment is not, it's not like, it doesn't mean just like nothing. It doesn't mean just like, that's not the moment. It's just like, it means just fully, it means fully being engrossed into your experience, into the experience of life. Like right now, in this current moment, I am fully engrossed in what we're doing. What we're doing is absolutely amazing. I'm speaking into a microphone. I have a camera set up. You're miles away, and we're having this amazing conversation for over, it's been an hour and 10 minutes. Like this is us being fully in the moment and just enjoying it. And whatever happens after this, it doesn't really matter. Like we're just fully engrossed in what we're doing, in the amazement of it, because this really is amazing, right? If I was to show this technology to somebody that lived in medieval France, they'd be like, what the fuck is this, dude? Like what, like get that Satanist technology out of here, because it's magic. People don't realize how this is quite literally magic, dude. Like this technology is absolutely insane. Like this is something out of Star Wars, what we're doing. Like I'm having a conversation with you and we're not in the same room. If you were to say that to somebody, even back in before the radio, before whenever the radio was invented, they'd be like, what do you mean? Like when you can talk to people, but you don't have to be with them. I'm like, yeah, man, that's the future. And we take that for granted, but think about it, dude. Just sit down and like be in the moment, like what we're doing. It's fucking amazing. It's so amazing. And having that constant curiosity and amazement and innocence of life, it's kind of like being a child. It allows you to realize that no matter what, life is always amazing. And from that feeling of positivity and those feelings of just like general, just, I don't know what it is, just good. We'll just say good. We'll keep it at that feeling good. That's how you manifest. Like that is truly just when you're just playing the game, when you're fully in the game, that is how you create the life that you want to create. It starts with, it starts with that firm basis of just being happy and knowing what we have is beautiful. And there's no point of being where you're going to be in X amount of years where you're going to be happy. It starts now. It starts with just, taking it all in, man. Just take it all in.
Yeah. And that's you mentioned an hour and 10, so I don't know how much time we have left, but I will say this. I'm going to force this into the conversation.
Yep.
We talked before about the vulnerability component. And I think what's interesting is, and hopefully, there's a lot of threads that we kind of, again, glanced over. Hope we get a chance at some point to talk about that, whatever. But
hey, I always want to have you as a regular guest, so like there's always going to be times. I think Paul Faria will be like a once a month thing. I think it's always good to just have you as a, like, it's just good to, like, it's good for both of us. Honestly, like I get a lot from it, and if anybody wants to watch it, that's awesome too, but I just have fun. So you're always welcome on to the Conscious Perspective podcast. I think it's great, dude.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah. Hey man, like I said, it's, I don't think there's a lot of other people that I can touch these points on and people would grasp it, and then you bounce off good. It's like a tennis match, man. You know what I mean? Like I serve it or you serve it, and then we're just like back and forth. So that's why I think, you could definitely come on here anytime, but you can say whatever you want to say.
Yeah, that's beautiful. So I'm going to take that in. That's great. I love that. That was fantastic. I fully appreciate that. It's sinking in. Okay. So before I keep referencing the past obsessively, I guess, but it's a lot of learning moments. I guess when it goes back to that achievement mindset, there was always, even, playing on the football team, playing on the basketball team, doing all these things, or going through this achievement oriented training.
Yep.
And especially when you bring the law of attraction into it, because you just said manifestation, which I hope we can dedicate an episode to talking about manifestation and what that looks like. But when it comes to vulnerability, there would be points when I would feel scared or nervous. And I thought immediately, I can't admit that. I can't say that. I've got to show
yourself?
What?
To yourself or other people? You can't admit
I would
it.
say that to myself, like, I can't feel that. I
Okay.
can't say that.
Mm-hmm.
I need to show that I'm confident, or I need to show that I feel happy despite having a different emotion. Where I think vulnerability now comes in, and why meditation is so powerful and it kind of works to enable that, is because I can tell you right now, oh, hey, I just had this thought. Gary said that we're at 1 hour and 10 minutes. And I'm wondering right now if he's thinking about the fact that we need to end this podcast, or if he's thinking about how we're going to end the podcast, or what's the next thing that he's going to say. And that's very vulnerable, because to me, I can keep that to myself and say, you know what, screw it. But I'm saying it out loud, and I'm saying, hey, Gary, I'm viscerally aware of having this thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not judging myself for it. I'm embracing it as a thought. Like, it's okay for me to think that, and it's okay for me to say it. Now, if we both acknowledge that we're not our thoughts, we can say, hey, Paul, thank you for sharing that, and move on. Whereas before, if we are our thoughts, and I say to you, I am scared, and it means I'm a scared person, I'm not confident, there's something wrong with me. But if I say I'm scared, or I'm having thoughts of being scared, now I can effectively call out my thoughts, give them attention, give them light, while not identifying with them. Let the energy of anxiety and fear flow through me, and watch it transform into even more confidence, because I embraced what it was. I embraced what was happening within me, instead of saying, oh, fear, no, go away. Now I'm not integrated.
Mm-hmm.
But when I say, I feel a lot of fear right now. And it makes me think of that episode in Game of Thrones where Robb Stark is going to attack the Lannisters. And what's his name? Greyjoy asks him, are you scared right now? And Robb Stark, instead of being masculine leader, says, and saying, no, we got this. He's like, yeah. And then great Theon's like, good. If you weren't, I'd say you were an idiot. So just like being honest and being open and owning it, but not identifying with it, bringing it out, calling it out, but not allowing it dominate your space and energy. I feel like that's vulnerability.
Yeah. So vulnerability is good. It's
Love
good
it. Yeah, vulnerable. Man. That's breeding connection. That's opening me up to you.
Yeah, we have to be, man. We have to be vulnerable. But it's okay. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay. Like, it's because that's how you open your heart. I think that's the first step. Because when, like, this, I think we already touched upon this. When you open your heart, you're letting out so much. You like just people's opinions, people's judgment. Like, what are they gonna think of me when if I am scared, if I say this or something? But I think you're right, dude. We all just need to be a little more vulnerable, and I think it'll make us a little less scared. Because if somebody is vulnerable, and the other person is okay with that, and they take in their vulnerability, and they truly love them for their vulnerability and everything that they are and all of their perceived faults, then that's connection, that's trust, that's what we're here for. We have to be there for each other. That's the first step, man. Vulnerability. It's true, man. I think that's perfect. I think if you want to end it right there, I think that's a perfect point. We all have to just open up a little bit more, man. We all have to just stop being so scared of each other. just know that we're all the same. Let it out. Just don't identify with it. Just don't think that's you. What we are is goes beyond comprehension. What we are goes beyond thought. What we are goes beyond any of the five senses. So all of that stuff, take it in, let it flow. Because when you let that flow, the truth follows behind it. And the truth is it's in there, man. It's in there. But it's just like how we started the podcast, dude. It starts with opening the heart.
Love it, dude. Thank you
Man.
for drawing this out. Thank you for drawing this out. Thank you.
You draw a lot out of me too. So like I said, it's like a tennis match. I just want to say thank you for coming on, man. Like I look forward to it. I was looking forward to it whenever we decided to set up this whole entire thing. I think it's great. It's just like it's like a therapy session. It's like cathartic. Like it feels good, man. Like, you know, like I said, definitely in the future, definitely down to do it again. So if you want to get a new camera, that'd be dope. You know, I'm not saying you have to, because you were talking about that earlier. So like, if you get a camera and microphone, we can set something up officially. You know what I'm saying? But,
hell yeah, dude.
You know,
hell yeah. I'm avoiding wearing this little like corny little headset that I have, a little microphone. Like that just makes me look like a call center person. I'm not going there.
If it makes you have better sound quality, who cares? Like, look what I'm wearing. I'm wearing earmuffs.
See, you look cool.
I guess, but whatever. It doesn't matter. It's all about the
audio. I'll try it.
Oh, man. All right. Well, let's wrap it up. Paul Faria, thank you for coming on to the Conscious Perspective podcast. It's been a pleasure. Namaste, my friend.
Great. Thank you, Gary.